So we have just got back from a run and we're going to do a bit of a cool down mobility stretch just for 5-6 minutes, just to loosen up the body and iron out any creases that are in there. So I normally just start by doing a nice big stretch up, taking a deep breath and then folding over, not really worrying about touching the toes, just folding over, maybe rock side to side. I kind of turn this into a bit of a flow and walk out to a downward dog and just kind of pedal the heels down to the ground. Stretching up, letting the head hang, feeling that in the back of the legs. Trying to get those heels down to the ground if possible. Then reaching left leg forward, and I'm keeping my right hand on the ground, reaching up to the sky. I'm really just feeling that sort of in the lower left glute and into the back, and then holding that for like 12 seconds. Coming back to the front, lowering that back knee, putting the foot down, and then doing the same again. Reaching up, doing that for about 10 seconds. You could do this longer or shorter, of course. And back down to the middle, and just sitting back and just pushing those hips forward, feeling a nice stretch through the hips, keeping the back straight. And then changing over, so back up into downward dog, and then bringing right leg forward and reaching up, turning, eyes pointed to the ceiling, nice stretch along the shoulders, feeling that along here as well, back of the right hamstring and into the glute, and back down. Lowering that knee and back up. And I do these stretches for as long as it feels comfortable. So you can do them longer if you've got more time. Otherwise, just 10 to 12 seconds on each side is fine. And then back up, pushing those hips forward again. Oh, always feels good. Then go back up into downward dog, and I would then go into pigeon pose. So left leg forward, so bending that knee at an angle, and you can stay where's comfortable. So I like to go down onto my elbows, onto my forearms. If you can get all the way down, then that's great. If you're more comfortable just sitting up here, and you can kind of just twist your body around to where you feel the stretch the best. Kind of like that in this position, it's the left glute, kind of in that right hip as well. And I could sit in this one for hours. This is good. Then back up, so toe under, pushing back up and changing over with the right leg. And you might feel a difference on each side. You stretch out either side if it feels better. And like I said, just move that around to where it feels the best for you. Okay, back up, down dog. And I would come down, kind of lowering down into plank and just pushing up into cobras, keeping the elbows tucked into the hips, looking up. It's good for the lower back. And you can always do this a few times. Oh, it feels good. Stretches out the core as well. And then back up. And then I come down to hands and knees and just do a cat-cow stretch. Holding that if you want to hold it for a stretch, or just keeping that nice and fluid. Then I like to do a thread the needle. So I'm pulling my left arm under and lowering that left shoulder onto the ground and really feeling that into the lower back and upper back as well. And then holding that for a nice stretch. And then changing sides, threading the right arm through. And back up. And I like to sit back into child's pose. So spreading the feet a little bit wider apart and just sitting back onto your hips, stretching those arms out in front of you. Holding that for like 10 to 12 seconds. Coming back up. This one, just like to sit back, keeping the feet in the same position. This one's really hard for runners. So you might be able to get your bum to sit down on the ground and then you can make your way back. But this is as far as I go. And it varies. Sometimes I might be up here. Sometimes I might be a bit further, closer to the ground. But just do what feels comfortable. You can feel that in the quads. I feel my left one a lot more than the right today. Nice. Now you could do this one sitting in front of the TV. So do it as often as you like. Then changing over, sitting onto the bum. Legs out in front. Like to cross left leg over, hooking right arm around, and just twisting and looking behind. That stretches out the left glute and the lower back. Changing sides. Always a bit tight after a run. I can even feel that in the adductors on this right leg. Great. Then, if you like, just reaching forward. Can't touch my toes, but it's not about how far you go. It's just stretching out, feeling comfortable. If you want, you can bend your knees a little, changes the stretch. You feel it more than in the hamstrings. This is like a stretch for runners because we're not as flexible as yogis. Then laying on your back, stretching out, bringing one knee in and pulling that in nice and tight to the chest, keeping the other leg outstretched with the feet flexed. This is a nice one for the hips. And again, you can kind of move that around a bit just to get it to where you need it to be to really feel that stretch in the hip. And changing legs. Again, move that around as you need to. You can even pull that out if you're feeling that in the adductors. It's really versatile. Then, good favourite, happy baby. So lifting legs up, grabbing your feet, and then you are just playing around like a happy baby. So rolling around, kicking the legs out, pulling them apart, close together. It's not a very glamorous stretch, but feels very good. And this is what I could do for ages as well. Feels good. Nice. Okay. Don't want to let it go. Okay, legs back down. Another one you can do down here is just lifting the legs up and stretching back, and you can spread your legs apart. Try and touch the ground behind you. It's a good hamstring and lower back stretch as well. Again, it just feels nice. Rolling back out of that safely. And then up onto our feet. I like to go down into a Yogi Squat. So legs a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, squatting down, trying to keep those heels down, which never works. And then just sitting down or turn to the side, just so you can see that. And then just clasping, pushing the knees out with the elbows. And again, you can move around in this position. You can reach up and around. It's a good hip stretch, good for the abductors, good for the Achilles and the calves. And again, you can do this one later throughout the day. Just squat down when you can. It's a really good position to be in for runners. Like, this is a good test too when you're out doing a long run, that you can still do this. That's a good sign. Then standing back up. Then like to do a dancer pose. So taking your hand, I'll try and turn to the right side here, and left hand, left foot, whoops, it's all about balance. Getting that into your palm and then reaching forward with the opposite arm and really trying to keep those hips forward, and then you're pushing back on your hand with that rear leg and looking past your fingers. Not losing balance again. Get back into that one. Really stretching out. This is good for the quads, the hips. Standing leg is strong. Shoulders, you're pulling that shoulder back. Then changing legs. I do like to hold that one a bit longer as well. Change sides. Reaching forward, really kicking back with that leg. Feel that in the quads. Try and turn, keep those hips forward. Okay, then legs nice and wide apart, arms out, bending forward from the hips, keeping the legs straight, and just let the head hang. Reach over to the right, over to the left, back to the middle, just kind of moving around here, feeling that in the hamstrings. Let the head hang. Coming back up, and last couple of stretches, left leg out, right knee is bending, and it's like you're sticking your bum out, so what I'm doing there. Like you're sitting down, you should be feeling that in the back of this straight leg, in the hamstring. Resting hand on that supporting leg, and you can stick your bum out more, you'll feel it more, otherwise pull it back in. Keeping the toes flat, you can flex them as well for a different feeling, more in the back of the knee. And change sides. So other leg out straight, sticking the bum out, and stretching that out. Okay, and of course you've got your standard calf stretch. So leaning up against something, a wall, a couch, and just putting a bit of pressure on the calf. Not too much, don't want to be straining. It's just stretching, just gentle stretching. It should never be painful. So if this is as far as you can go, then that's good as well. Changing legs. One last one, not to forget the shoulders. Let's see if I can reach this today. So getting right arm back, left arm at the back, and trying to connect fingers at the back. You might need to use a towel to connect, stretching those shoulders out. Oh, that's a hard one. I think the other side's even less flexible. But this is a good one to do. Oh, there we go, just touching. You might need to work on that one. And then give yourself a big stretch all over. Perfect.